And welcome to Americans Learn. My name is Lauren, and today I'm going to be learning about 4 royal curses that actually came true. This is another history tea time with Lindsay Holiday. So far, I've enjoyed her stories and her take on history. So I'm looking forward to learning about these royal curses, because curses are fun. And I like to start spooky season as early as possible.
4 royal curses that actually came true. When infidelity, early death, suicide, or murder strike a royal family, they are not only tragedies. They can be national or even global catastrophes. And when repeated calamities strike a dynasty generation after generation, legends of long ago curses are bound to be unearthed. From a witch poisoning the love lives of 800 years of princes, to supernatural ravens forewarning early imperial deaths. From a grief-stricken mother cursing a young emperor to a life of tragic losses, to spilled milk dooming a dynasty to a massacre after 10 generations.
I guess that's the spilled milk you should cry over?
Let's explore 4 royal curses from history, which actually seem to have come true. The Princes of Monaco. Cursed in marriage. In 1297, Lord Rainier, scion of the powerful Genoese Grimaldi family, and a band of loyal knights dressed as priests to infiltrate the Rock of Monaco. Once inside, the knights took swords from under their holy robes and seized the fortress. Rainier named himself Lord of Monaco, and his descendants have ruled the strategic seaside rock ever since.
Wow.
While celebrating his victory, he captured a beautiful maiden and raped her. According to legend, the woman learned the arts of witchcraft in order to seek revenge.
Got him.
Rainier had her arrested and burned at the stake. As she died in agony, she uttered a curse on her rapist and his family. Never will a Grimaldi find happiness in marriage. This legend has long been referred to when members of the princely family of Monaco and their spouses have found only misery and tragedy in matrimony. In 1457, the throne went to a 6-year-old girl, Claudine. She was engaged to her 37-year-old cousin, Lambert. He imprisoned his child bride and seized her throne. In 1660, Prince Louis I married sensuous French aristocrat Catherine Charlotte de Gramont. She only agreed to marry him because her cousin refused to elope with her. She preferred to remain at Versailles with her many lovers, including King Louis XIV.
I'm not surprised. King Louis XIV got around, but well, good for her. She's like, fine, I'll marry you, but I'm not gonna go anywhere close to you. No.
And his sister-in-law, Princess Henrietta of England.
Okay, good
Catherine
for her.
Charlotte gave birth to 7 children. The prince claimed them all, though how he knew they were his is anyone's guess.
He was just like, I need heirs, and my wife refuses to be in the same room with me for longer than about 10 seconds, and that, although enough time for me.
Louis doggedly defended his wife's honor and nearly had a duel with one of her paramours. In the end, Catherine Charlotte's romantic intent.
How good was her pussy? Dang. That's way too early in the video to be asking that, but holy crap.
Entanglements caused her disgrace, and she was exiled from court. She died of cancer at 39. Their son, Antonio I, wed Marie de Lorraine. She gave birth to 6 daughters, and her husband blamed her for failing to deliver a male heir. This was before it was understood that the father provides the sex chromosome. Antonio paraded his many mistresses, who also gave birth to daughters, in front of his heartbroken wife. Their daughter, Louise, became Princess of Monaco. She married Jacques du Montagnon, but he rarely left his mistresses in Paris to visit her. However, when Louise died of smallpox at 34, Jacques finally showed up to seize power. He was so hated by the Monegasque people that they chased him back to France. Henri III wed Maria Caterina Brignoli of Genoa. When her ship arrived, the prince refused to go aboard,
Why? She's
declaring that as
beautiful.
he was a monarch, she must come to him. She countered that as she was a member of a higher-ranking royal family, he must come to her.
Good for her.
As they couldn't decide who came first, the ship remained stranded offshore for days. Finally, a dock was built so the couple could meet halfway. This shaky start did not lead to marital bliss. Infidelity was rife on both sides. When Maria Caterina inherited a vast fortune, she kept it from Henri. He countered by keeping their children from her. Finally, she ran away, and her powerful lover, the Prince du Condé, got her a legal separation and the right to see her children.
Good.
During
Thank you
the French
for being a good
Revolution,
dude, Prince de
Monaco's
Condé.
princely family was imprisoned and deprived of their wealth. Henri IV married French Duchess Louise d'Aumont for her money. But he never got access to any of it because it was tied up in lawsuits in the new Republican court system. Instead, she went through his remaining funds, gambling and buying beautiful clothes.
Bummer.
The couple took advantage of the Republic's new divorce laws. Charles III found happiness in marrying Antoinette du Morod. They used her dowry to build Monte Carlo Casino and began attracting tourists to Monaco. But she died tragically young at 35 from cancer. Heartbroken Charles never remarried. Their son Albert I wanted to wed the cream of European royalty, one of Queen
They really plucked her hair all the way back, huh?
Victoria's daughters, but they all turned him down. Instead,
Like
Victoria
Monaco?
suggested Scottish noblewoman Lady Mary Victoria Douglas Hamilton. She and Albert had one son, but Mary hated the heat of the Mediterranean and left after a year.
Loser.
Albert
Let's go.
next married Jewish-American heiress Alice Hine. In the
pretty.
beginning, all seemed well. The couple shared a love of oceanography, and she increased Monaco's profile by opening an opera, theater, and ballet. But he was frequently seen with courtesans, including famous Spanish dancer Caroline Otero. The couple had a screaming match in the theater, and Albert slapped his wife in front of a packed house of high society guests.
Oh, that's no
She
good.
left and spent the rest of her life in London.
You gotta do those things behind closed doors if you're royalty. I feel like people won't stand for that. I'm glad she didn't stand for that. She's like, oh, you're going to hit me. Oh, bye. Good for her. My dude.
Louis II
Also, don't hit your significant others, also, unless you're doing a sparring match and it's consensual, all of that.
was raised by his mother and hated his father. He was required to return to Monaco at 11, but as soon as he was old enough, he left to join the French Foreign Legion.
Oh.
During World War I, he had an affair with a cabaret singer, Marie-Juliette Louvet.
Typical
He
World War
wanted
I
to marry
behavior.
her, but his father forbid it. Instead, Marie and their daughter Charlotte followed Louis's military camp, posing as laundresses. Charlotte was Louis's
it's one way
only
to stay
child,
with your
so he named her
lover, I
heir and arranged her marriage to Pierre de Polignac, Duke of Valentinois. They had 2 children, but he was gay, so the marriage didn't last. Their son, Renier III, transformed Monaco's lagging casino economy into a vibrant tax haven and cultural destination. In 1955, the prince met Academy Award-winning American actress Grace Kelly, and they agreed
heard
to
of her.
wed in
I
a
thought so.
business-minded arrangement.
Princess of Monaco,
30
yeah.
million people watched their fairy tale wedding, but it was far from happily ever after. While on their yachting honeymoon, Grace and Renier realized they had little in common.
Oh,
He began
great.
cheating as soon as they returned. Grace
He cheated on her? Look at her.
loved her children, but the marriage and the obligations of being a princess were straining. She was forced to turn down an offer to return to acting. In 1982, Grace suffered a stroke and drove off a cliff. Her daughter Stephanie survived, but Princess Grace died at 52. Her son, Albert II, is the current reigning Prince of Monaco. As a bachelor, he fathered at least 2 illegitimate children and faced several paternity lawsuits. At 53, he settled down with 33-year-old
Again, all of these gorgeous women with these schlubby ass dudes. Come on. I mean, and you know it's for the prestige because it's definitely not for the personality. And we know this because it seems like all of these people suck. I mean, I don't know too much about all of them, but many of the people on both sides of this situation that this person's described so far, opportunists at best.
South African Olympic swimmer Charlene Wittstock.
She
Rumors
just wanted to be a
circled
princess, huh?
that Charlene tried to flee Monaco before the wedding. Her
Wow.
passport confiscated. She
Yeah, he
gave birth to
sucks.
twins, Gabriella and Jacques, in 2014. In
Ugh.
2021, she spent nearly a year in her native South Africa while
Right.
recovering from a serious infection. More rumors predicted a pending divorce, but the prince and princess have since been reunited, and all appears well.
They chose the worst picture ever for It Appears Well. She looks like she's literally plotting his demise.
In the House of Grimaldi. The prince's two sisters have also had disastrous love lives. At 21,
Which got 'em.
Caroline married a 38-year-old playboy, but they split after 2 years. Next, she had a happy union and 3 children with Stefano Casiraghi, but he was killed in a crash during the 1989 World Powerboat Championship. Prince Ernst August, Duke of Brunswick, left his wife to become Caroline's third husband.
Wow.
But the princess has since separated from the notoriously rude and violent prince.
Good for her.
Youngest sister, Stephanie, had a string of hit songs
I mean,
in the
I was gonna say she looks like she and Bowie could fuse to become one.
1980s and dated race car drivers and actor Rob Lowe. She had 2 children out of wedlock with her bodyguard. They wed, but he was photographed with Miss Topless Belgium, and Stephanie
Great.
filed for divorce.
Oh wow, and like he full on boner in that photo too. God dang. Again, I mean, I feel like sure the witch lady, the witch lady is like, you'll never be happy in marriage. But it's like if any of these people didn't suck just a little bit.
Had a 3rd child and refused to name the father. Stephanie next dated a married elephant trainer and moved her 3 children into his circus caravan.
Oh,
Then she
good for
had
them.
an affair with an
Yikes.
acrobat. But they broke up and the family moved back to Monaco. Over 7 centuries, the princely family has had more than their share of disastrous marriages. So, were the Grimaldis really cursed in love by a 13th century witch?
Maybe.
Or are
Or
they
maybe
just
they all just
chronically
suck.
bad at relationships?
Well, it feels like they suck at
The Habsburgs,
people. Like, they're just.
cursed.
I mean, again, this might be just like a rich person thing. It just feels it's like just a lack of respect for your partner that I witnessed throughout that entire situation. So I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty big part of why, if you suck at relationships, take a peek at yourself and how you treat people.
Of the Ravens.
It's fun to say a curse though.
This legend begins with a 10th century knight, the Count von Altenburg. He was out hunting in the Swiss Alps when he got separated from his entourage and stumbled into a rocky clearing. The
Say,
area
"Please, bird, help
housed
me."
several nests of eagles, and, feeling threatened, the birds lunged at the Count.
Oh.
He might have been pecked to death, but a conspiracy of ravens flocked to his rescue, fought off the eagles, and allowed the Count to escape.
All right, what a fascinating tale that he fabricated.
In thanks, von Altenburg ordered a watchtower built to house the ravens, and he sent his own servants to feed and care for them. Over the next century, his family grew rich and powerful. In 1020, his descendant, Count Radbot, transformed the old watchtower into a luxurious fortified castle. But workmen chased off the ravens and even killed some of them. It is not wise to anger such ominous birds who have long been associated with death and the spirit world. The new fortress was called Habsburg, meaning Hawk Castle. The family took their
that's
name.
even insult to injury. I didn't realize that it meant, oh man. Oh, you know what? If I was a raven, I would definitely go and curse some folks. That's annoying. It's like, we've been living a life of luxury as ravens here for centuries. Thank you. It is possible that some of the like if that one count had like been feeding a bunch of ravens, or if like he had endeared himself to them in some way, it is possible that they might chase off a danger to him. Feels like the kind of thing that ravens and crows and corvids in general will do. Like if you can endear yourself to them, and they will fight for you. But like it's like, even regardless, it's like he wanted to like make some friends with some ravens. Cool. I fully get it. I would love to make friends with ravens or crows. I would love to be friends with them and have them bring me shiny things and dive bomb people I don't like. There are very much accounts of this happening. But he's just like, he made a whole thing, and ravens and crows, and they like remember shit, you know? They like, and they pass it on like generational, like they're like elephants too. Like they pass on information and knowledge. Gorillas do it too, like, but they pass it on to their offspring, and even to other groups of like ravens or crows will like know, you know, they'll remember, oh, you attack the people in the masks. That's what you do. So it's like, to chase off the ravens and then name it Hawk Castle. They deserve to be cursed.
Came from the castle and continued to grow in strength and wealth. By 1452, Frederick von Habsburg was able to cajole the prince-electors to name him Holy Roman Emperor. For the next 400 years, the Habsburgs ruled the most powerful empire in Europe. But the ravens were not happy about being cast out of their tower and forgotten. It was said that the black birds, called Turnfalken in German mythology, appeared to caw ominously on the eve of a battle the Habsburgs would lose, and that they filled the trees outside the palace to forebode a tragedy in the imperial family. The Habsburgs certainly had more than their fair share of misfortune. Maximilian I's beautiful 25-year-old wife, Mary of Burgundy, was thrown from her horse and broke her back. She died and passed the Netherlands to her young son, Philip the Handsome. When he grew up, he married Juana, who inherited both Aragon and Castile from her parents, uniting much of Spain. Philip died of typhoid at 28, and mentally ill Juana supposedly refused to allow him to be buried for weeks. Philip's father, Emperor Maximilian, grew so morbidly depressed after the deaths of his wife and son that he brought his own coffin with him wherever he traveled. He left instructions that his corpse be publicly displayed to show the perishableness of earthly glory. He left the empire to his grandson, Charles V, who had also taken control of Spain by locking his mother up in a convent. He married his cousin Isabella of Portugal, and the pair were deeply in love. When she died in childbirth, he wore black, surrounded himself with clocks and portraits of her, and even staged a production of his own funeral. After his real funeral, Spain went to his son, Philip II, and the empire to his brother, Ferdinand I. Both branches of the Habsburg family tree continued to suffer tragedy after tragedy. The famously unhealthy members of the house were as nothing to the many, many babies lost to miscarriage, stillbirth, and infant mortality. Only about half of the Habsburg children survived to the age of 10. Whenever misfortune struck and another small black-draped box was carried out of the palace, people searched the skies for ravens and whispered that the great family was cursed. It was even said that ravens appeared in the trees in Paris to watch as Queen Marie Antoinette, a member of the House of Habsburg, was guillotined in 1793.
Just to like, ha ha, you kicked us out of our tower, stop
In
beating us.
the 19th century, a more scientific explanation for the many Habsburg calamities was uncovered: inbreeding. The Spanish and Austrian branches of the family ping-ponged brides back and forth for centuries. Cousins married cousins, and uncles married nieces. All this intermarrying compounded genetic disorders, causing multiple severe disabilities. Many kings and emperors were afflicted with the infamous Habsburg jaw. Their lower mandible was so extended that it was difficult for them to eat or speak. All this inbreeding culminated in King Carlos II of Spain. He was described as short, lame, epileptic, senile, and completely bald before 35, always on the verge of death, but repeatedly baffling Christendom by continuing to live. Carlos
Spite.
was known as the Hexed. His superstitious people called in priests to perform exorcisms and thought that he must have been cursed by some powerful sorceress,
Or just some
perhaps
ravens.
an ancient flock of ravens. He was also impotent, but his wife was blamed for failing to conceive a
Of course she
child.
was.
She was fed toxic fertility potions and died at 26. Carlos's misery finally came to an end when he was 38 in 1700, and the line of the
Still a
Spanish
long
Habsburgs
time for,
died
like,
with him. The Austrian
that many
Habsburgs
problems.
lived on,
Like-
but they would get a fresh curse and even more calamities.
Ooh, a new curse.
Emperor Franz Joseph. Karoli curse. By the 1800s, the Habsburgs
Double
had suffered
curse.
many
Sorry,
more,
Habsburgs.
possibly avian-related misfortunes,
Haha, so many
including
avians.
the fall of the Holy Roman Empire at the hands of Napoleon in 1806. But they held on to the reduced Austrian Empire and had lightened up on the inbreeding, so they were hanging in
Which is
there.
why they survived
In
a little longer.
1848, 18-year-old Emperor Franz Joseph had a serious problem. One of his remaining kingdoms, Hungary, wanted democracy. The headstrong
How
young
dare.
ruler rashly and illegally revoked their new democratic laws. Hungarians revolted, and Franz Joseph sent in the army. The Hungarians were defeated, and the revolutionary leaders executed. Proud of his victory and secure on the throne,
I
Franz
like that they even gave him his little 18-year-old wispy mustache there in this picture. He's like, you know that he was like, put that in. I have 3 whole mustache hairs. Give them to me.
Joseph attended a grand ball in Vienna. In his fine, gold-braided uniform, he promenaded before the awed crowd.
Ugh.
Just then, a woman dressed in black
Wow.
stepped out of the masses. She was the Countess Karoli, and her beloved son had been among the Hungarian revolutionaries. He had been just 18, the same age as the emperor, but his life was cut short at the end of a rope. The furious countess bellowed out a curse at the unsuspecting emperor. May heaven and hell blast your happiness. May your family be exterminated. May you be
Now, that didn't
smitten
happen.
in the persons of those you love best. May your children be brought to ruin and your life wrecked. And yet may you live on in lonely,
Oh.
unbroken, horrible
Ooh,
grief,
wow.
to tremble when you recall the name Karoli.
I mean, we know that the Habsburgs continued on, so we know that the whole family isn't exterminated, but it seems like maybe most of his was.
Guards dragged the grief-stricken mother away, and the emperor continued waltzing, but her words would haunt the House of Habsburg. 6 years later, Franz Joseph married the strikingly beautiful 15-year-old Duchess Elizabeth in Bavaria, called Sissy. The couple
gross.
had 2 daughters, Sophie and Gisela.
Because now he's in his 20s. Come on, why are all these people marrying teenage girls all the time?
The happy family went on holiday to the newly subdued
I mean, I know
Hungary.
why, but,
tragedy
I understand that different time, and oh, she's fertile, therefore, and all girls are only good for popping out babies as soon as they start bleeding. So get them married. I mean, I know that's what it was like, but it's still annoying.
interrupted their tranquil trip. Both daughters fell ill after drinking contaminated water, and 2-year-old Sophie
Ugh,
died
bummer.
in her mother's arms. Sissy
sucks.
was heartbroken and suffered depression as she finally delivered a
Yeah.
male heir, Crown Prince Rudolph. The emperor continued to be infatuated with her, but she could
Okay.
not return his affections. She became obsessed with dieting and exercise and
Oh.
traveled alone as
Influencer.
much as she could. She
Okay.
may have had an affair with a Hungarian politician,
Ooh.
and she convinced her husband to give Hungary equal rights and create the dual monarchy
Wow.
of Austria-Hungary. She
Okay.
had a 4th
Wow,
child,
girl.
Marie Valerie, whom she raised in Hungary. In 1864,
Okay.
Franz Joseph's younger brother, Maximilian, was invited to become Emperor of Mexico.
I mean, I've never heard of her, but that's kind of crazy. Good for her. Like,
This was based on his descent from Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor and King of Spain, whose conquistadors had conquered the Aztec Empire back in 1519. Maximilian arrived in triumph, but he clashed with Mexican politicians, and the United States backed his rival. After just 3 years on the
really?
throne, Emperor Maximilian was arrested and executed by firing squad.
wow.
30-year-old Crown
Harsh.
Prince Rudolph and his 17-year-old mistress, Baroness Mary
How
Vatsalm
old?
Prince Rudolph, by firing squad. 30-year-old Crown Prince Rudolph and his 17-year-old mistress, Baroness Mary Vatsera, were found dead in his hunting lodge as the result of either a murder-suicide or a suicide pact. Sissy was devastated at
Yeah,
the loss of
dang.
another child and wore black for the rest of her life. Her husband tried to cheer her up, but she spent even less time in his company.
No,
In
F
1898,
off.
the elusive 60-year-old empress was out for a stroll in Geneva, Switzerland. A young man stumbled into her, then took off. The empress collapsed, and her attendant discovered that she had been stabbed through the heart with a 4-inch needle.
Why?
The assassin was an Italian anarchist who was out to kill any royal he could find.
Oh, that sucks. She even did good stuff. Dang. She like made democracy. Oh,
Sissy drifted off peacefully and died. This was the crowning sorrow in the life of the otherwise unflappable emperor. After his wife's death, he was never the same. But the family tragedies weren't over. Sissy's favorite sister, Duchess Sophie Charlotte in Bavaria, was killed in a fire that swept through a charity bazaar in Paris
Oh,
and
that
killed 126.
sucks. Wow.
Several of Franz Joseph's grandchildren, nieces, and nephews were disgraced by scandals. Archduchess Elizabeth shot at her husband's actress lover. Princess Louise published a sensational account of her sexual escapades.
Good for her.
Archduke Leopold married an actress and was deprived of his titles. Archduke
dare.
Johann Salvator renounced his own titles to marry a different actress,
Oh.
then took off on his yacht and was lost at sea.
Oh, that
and
sucks.
Archduke Otto became infamous for his debauchery,
Otto von
including
Bismarck.
prancing into a British duchess's dining room naked and walking into his lover's hotel room wearing only a sword. He
Ah.
died of syphilis at 41.
shocking.
All of these family scandals made the emperor's old age a misery. But in 1914, he was dealt a final, devastating blow. His heir, his nephew Archduke Franz Ferdinand, and his wife Sophie went to Bosnia. They hoped a royal visit would smooth over mounting political
Nope.
tensions. The imperial motorcade made a wrong turn and got stuck down a narrow street. A 19-year-old revolutionary, Gavrilo Princip, who had been part of a failed assassination attempt on the couple earlier in the day, just happened to be having a drink in a cafe on that very street. He took the opportunity and charged at the couple, shooting them both at point-blank range. The death of the Habsburg heir was the spark that ignited the power keg of growing tension between the great powers of Europe, exploding into World War I.
all
Emperor
because
Franz Joseph
he
was
couldn't. All because he illegally walked into Hungary and imposed his rule.
devastated by this final tragedy after a lifetime of unbearable grief. He died 2 years later at the age of 86. One has to wonder if, in his final moments, he thought back on the name Karoli. The Shahs of Nepal,
Get out of Europe.
cursed for 10 generations. In 1743, Prithvi Narayan Shah
time now,
inherited
huh?
the throne of Gorkha, one of 54 small states south of the Himalayan mountains. He looked out over the Kathmandu Valley and decided that one day it would all be his. He
Okay.
set out to conquer his neighbors.
visualize it.
The city of Kutpur agreed to welcome him,
Manifest.
but they changed their minds, and the
that's
Shah
rude.
laid a devastating siege upon them. Once he sacked the city, he ordered every man within to have his nose and lips cut off. Prithvi forged the
That's pretty
kingdom of
harsh.
Nepal in blood and became its supreme ruler. According to legend, he was walking through the forest when he encountered a yogi. Dutifully, the Shah offered him a bowl of curd. The old man drank it, then regurgitated it back into the bowl. Then he ordered the Shah to drink the foul curd
No.
to show his humility and devotion. But the Shah had no humility, only
wouldn't-
pride.
Yeah, well,
Disgusting.
I mean, that's not pride. That's just gross. That's just nasty, though. Ugh. No, that's just nasty, though.
He threw the bowl to the ground, and the spoiled milk covered his feet. The
Fair.
yogi was, in fact, 11th century Hindu saint Gorknath
Of course,
in
but
disguise.
still.
He was furious and cursed the Shah.
Okay, this one feels a little extra. I mean, like, his the maybe for the losing the nose and mouth. That's what he should be punished for, but not drinking somebody's puke.
Saying your dynasty will only last the number of generations that you have toes. Rajendra Shah inherited the throne in 1816 at the age of 3. He was kept in isolation by his powerful regent. A childhood
Like,
of
10 generations isn't like a super short amount of time most of the time, right?
neglect
100
caused
years.
severe mental illness. He created laws, then changed them the next day.
Oh,
He
sounds
was
like someone else
cruel
I know.
and punished his enemies by smearing them with human feces and removing their castes. Rajendra
Dang.
had 2 queens, and the court was divided between them. The Shah favored his younger wife, Rajya Lakshma, and she was ambitious to place her own son on the throne.
Okay, makes
Her
sense.
political ally was found murdered, and she called all the nobles to court and ordered the guards to execute the killer. But no one was sure who it was. The lords and ladies fought with each other, and the guards charged in, slaughtering nearly all the nobles present.
Wow.
The Kot massacre weakened the royal family and allowed a powerful dynasty of prime ministers to make them puppet kings
This
for
guy
a
has
century.
crazy eyes.
In the 1940s, Tribhuvan Shah was able to regain absolute power, but
Okay.
his son and grandson faced a changing world. Under pressure from protesters who wanted democracy and Maoist revolutionaries, Birendra Shah introduced a constitution in 1990, which limited his own royal authority. But
So they
his
did it to
family
themselves.
was furious with
Oh.
him for giving up their absolute power. He was also ruling in the shadow of the royal curse. Birendra was the 10th king of
Oh.
Nepal.
Yep, you're boned then.
On June 1st, 2001, while most of the royal family was attending a party in the
So they only even had 10. Okay, yeah, they had 10 kings, 10 generations. They lasted okay. They did okay. I mean, not super long, but not super short.
Palace Gardens. The Shah's eldest son, Crown Prince Dipendra, walked in and opened fire. He shot and killed his father, his mother, Queen Ashwarya, his younger brother and sister, and other members of the royal family,
God.
before shooting himself in the head. He
Why?
survived but was in a coma. He was technically the 11th generation Shah for 3 days, but he died without regaining consciousness. There are several theories as to why Prince Dipendra murdered his family. It may have been his fury over the loss of absolute monarchy, or that he had been in love with Divyani Rana. Due to her belonging to a lower caste, his family had not allowed them to wed. His uncle, Gayendra, who was not at the party, became the next king of Nepal. He dismissed the government and declared himself absolute ruler.
Okay.
Protesters were killed in the streets, and India stepped in to broker peace. In 2008, the new Nepalese government deposed the Shah and abolished
So they
the
got
monarchy. Gyanendra
more
was
than 10
ordered to vacate Narayan
Does he not count as another generation because he's part of the father's generation?
Hiti Palace, which was opened as a public museum. The former king still commands respect and
Huh.
refuses to accept the loss of his throne.
Shocking.
But if historic legends are to be believed, he was cursed to be the final king of Nepal.
Okay.
Want even more tea
We'll
on
see, I
history?
guess.
Check out the History Tea Time podcast.
We'll see, I guess. It's always fun. Curses, enjoyable to look at. Enjoyable to look at historical curses. Maybe that's just me. And again, as I feel like so many of them are just like, they come true, but by virtue of the person or family who was cursed, just in generally being bad to everybody around them, to like being assholes. And so like people respond to that. But anyway, always fun. I like a curse episode. I'm gonna be looking for some more spooky stuff for the next couple of weeks / month. Just to have it on the back burner, especially for October. So start sending me spooky things to look at. Be it songs, history things, spooky animal, like whatever you got. Then if it's spooky, let me know. Because I've got a month of stuff to fill Spooky Month with. So we will see you there. Bye-bye.